Another important understanding that we have to communicate in this process is, what does the Bible actually say? You know, as Christians, as faith-based actors, we are motivated by our faith. We are motivated by what the Bible tells us, by the mandate that we have from God. And that mandate is often understood to be to care for the orphan. And often we equate that to caring for children in orphanages. But actually, if we go back and look at the biblical framework for this, look at what the word actually says, just about every time that word is mentioned, which is better actually translated to mean fatherless, they're talking about a vulnerable family unit. It's not talking about a child in isolation of any parents. It's talking about a child who has been left fatherless. It's a widow and a child who are vulnerable because of the loss of that father. So it's actually talking about preserving vulnerable families and supporting vulnerable families. And that's the biblical mandate that we have been given, is to actually preserve the family. There's other scriptures that actually command that we protect children's rights, that we actually protect them from being violated, protect those rights from being abused, protect them from being exploited economically in other ways. So the Bible actually gives us a really holistic mandate to support and protect vulnerable people, including the vulnerable family. And that's the mandate we need to operate out of when we're looking at this transition process. One of our concerns, naturally, as Christians, is, what about these children's spirituality? If they leave these orphanages or children's homes where they are being exposed to the gospel, where they're being given lots of opportunities to know God and to worship God and to learn about God, what happens when they go home? And that's a really valid concern, because ultimately, as Christians, we want people to know about God. We want people to have that opportunity, but we have to understand what we give to people is an opportunity, and they need to be able to exercise their free will in making a decision to respond to that opportunity. And when we remove a child from a family and keep them in an institution, in a children's home, for the purpose of giving them that opportunity, we're actually introducing a level of coercion or manipulation that I don't think is biblically supported. The Bible talks about going out. Go out from where you are into the next town and the next city and the next country and to the far and beyond, and taking the gospel message with us as we go and bringing it to whole families and seeing whole families transformed by that gospel message. This is the mandate we have when it comes to the gospel. It's not a mandate to separate families and bring children in and hold them there. It is a mandate to take the gospel out to the family unit, to the community, and see that gospel be transformative in those environments. And so when we are reintegrating children out of care, out of residential care, this is a fantastic opportunity to have our Christian social workers, to have our faith-based organisations actually taking that gospel message out with them to their families that they're being reintegrated into, their communities, and seeing that gospel take hold and take root in those settings. So we can look at this as an opportunity, not as a threat to the gospel message.
Biblical hospitality is the calling. It's where we're asking families to bring a child into their home. And we feel like when we do that, we're inviting Christ to come into the home with them. The promise from Matthew 18:5 says that when you receive a child like this in my name, you're receiving me. And that's Jesus saying, I'm going to be there. If we want to see what Jesus looks like, we need to look into the eyes of the children, these at-risk children, because Jesus says, that's me, I'm there. And so through biblical hospitality, as a family receives this child, they're going to receive Jesus' promises to come into their home, and does amazing things. And time we see families that receive Jesus into their home and transformations take place. So many times the families tell us, we did this for the benefit of the child, but at the end of the day, we were the ones who received more. That's the gift part of biblical hospitality. In biblical hospitality, as we open the door to receive the stranger in amongst us, at some point the stranger actually shows up, and that's when they become personal. And it's not just the general idea of a stranger or a child that's coming to live amongst us. It's this child, it's Juan, it's Pablo, it's Maria. And those children all of a sudden take on a personal character. We can never love generally. We can only love specifically, personally, individually, particularly. And so as we do that, we get to know Juan, and we get to know Pablo, and we get to know Maria, and we can love them for who they are as individuals.